Hello, welcome to Postcards 14. I thought I'd dedicate this chinwag to Gilbert and Sullivan and start off with the very small number of cards and photographs I've got about the double act, and then go on to show you some books which give you some indication of my interest. I've been interested in singing all my life, and Gilbert and Sullivan for about 50 years. We did it at school, and that was it. Clicked into place, and I've been interested ever since. Here's the first of the cards. It's a very, very nice one. From the Mikado, presumably the Lord High Executioner. You'll actually notice that these days they put 28 instead of 28 pence, and the Queen's head is only an icon. It's not a picture of the good lady, not a photograph. On the other side, there's the actual stamp which was issued, and either Gilbert or Sullivan, I can't remember which. It's the Arthur Sullivan. It's 1992. And it's from the Mikado, reproduced from a stamp design, well, there is the stamp, by Linda Gray, and issued on the 21st of July, 1992. So that's 30 years ago, isn't it? Something like that. 20 years ago. Wish my life away. So there we are. No, I think it is 30 years ago. An awful thought. Half my life ago. So there we are. The Mikado is the probably the most popular and well-known Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. It's about Japan and the English reaction to society. And it does contain a lot of good songs and a little bit of ribald whimsy and references to politicians, which you can't necessarily, well, you can't pick up on at all. I'll come on to show you a book in a minute. Here's another part. This is the Grand Duke, which was the last of the collaboration of the double act, sent to me by my aunt, which was very nice, and they knew that I was very fond of Gilbert and Sullivan. The D'Oyly Carte were the original company. They also had a touring production, and they put on in their own theatre Richard D'Oyly Carte, the entrepreneur, and they would adjourn to the Coal Hole, which was the local pub in the Strand. And that's also where the World Chess Championship was once held. So it combined my two interests. This is, yes, I'd like to show off and tell you who this is, but I've got the vaguest idea. And the Gilbert and Sullivan Festival in Buxton, it says. Well, I've been to the Gilbert and Sullivan Festival in Buxton and sang, not solo, of course, just in the chorus, which the audience were the chorus, and the soloist stood up on a sort of makeshift stage. It was quite fun. Here's a couple of Lord Wandsworth people, should we be any Lord Wandsworth people. Here's Mark O'Gorman in Ruddigore, and over here the late Mark Whitto and Andy Hill, and some juniors standing around being bridesmaids. And here is, again from Ruddigore, James Harrison and Harry Gallagher. And this is Ruddigore from 1974. That's Ruddigore from 1974 as well. So I'm glad I got these. I'm not sure these actually appeared in the school magazine. They might have done. Now on to some books. There's the Lord Chancellor from Iolanthe, who wanted to marry his wards but couldn't or didn't, or was half a fairy, or here's a reference to Randolph Churchill having syphilis. You are forgiven if you didn't know that. Here are the little Babs, little cartoons. There, All dancing around. And this is rather a nice book. I've used this for doing singing in my flat. Only a couple of times, we only did it twice. And it gives all the breakdown for trial by jury right through to the Grand Duke, which is what I was talking about there. Just give you an indication of what. It doesn't show the music, but it shows all the words and gives you also some stage direction, which is useful. You can still get these books of scores. They're not difficult to get hold of. Here's the second one I got because I had a guest and we were doing singing, so we couldn't have the same book. This is the paperback version. I dare say there's nicer ones, but there we are. Look, there's HMS Pinafore. There we are. So if anyone comes up to you and says, how many Gilbert and Sullivan operettas were there? You can immediately fire back. I've no idea. That's 13 or 14, I think. For over a century, the comic operas of Gilbert and Sullivan have enchanted audiences throughout the world. Largely produced by Richard Doyley-Cart, I said that, at the Savoy Theatre, London. They were collectively known as the Savoy Operas. To W.S. Gilbert's texts with Sir Arthur Sullivan are parodies of institutions and ideas held dear by middle-class Victorian England. You need go no further than that. In other words, they were a piss take. Now, this book, it looks a bit tatty, but I didn't pay a great deal for it. Here we have the Three Little Maids from School. I paid £2 for it. And this gives some introduction to what's going on before your very eyes, and yet not, because as the songs are sung pretty fast and the dialogue is, belted out, you might sort of stop and say, what's all this about? Here's Darrell Fancourt and Martin Green. Peter Pratt, no relation, tells the story that somebody came up to him and said, where's Martin Green? And he thought it meant somewhere on his bus stop. I'm not sure really whether Martin Green sounds like it's a sort of terminus, does it? And here are the lovesick maidens. They're fainting and falling about in weepy-eyed adulation. That's what this world needs, more weepy-eyed adulation. Here is the Duke of Plaza Toro. There he is. He says something to the effect that, owing, I presume, to an unusually wet season, equestrian practice is impracticable. Meaning I can't ride my horse through the streets of Venice. It looks like it's rained too much. Everybody. But there are some good jokes in it yet still. Here's little Buttercup. Remember the two Ronnies singing Lift Your Left Buttercup. There she is. Hands on hips, C at the back. Let's see what other photographs there are. Here's the double act. W.S. William Schwenk and Arthur Seymour Sullivan. In the end, they were both knighted. And true to form, the Gilbert and Sullivan operettas were not their favourite. They wanted to be remembered for their more serious work. And they weren't. And I like to think that they will never die now. I know that interest is fairly strong. Harold Wilson was a patron. So was Vera Lynn. And Jane Asher is also a big fan. We don't need any of them. But what we do need is to remember what fun they are and that if they can't be formally performed, and I can't be in a formal production, I'm just too nervous. But nevertheless, I am a big fan. Here's Sir Joseph Porter, KCB. There he is. Doesn't he look imperious? Oh, Darrell Fancourt. Oh, it's Martin Green, the legendary Martin Green. One last book. There are a number of books on Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm not sure that any of them really lead up to anything other than a lot of repetition. And here they are cast in the roles, and they didn't appear in their own productions. In the Mikado. Let's see what we can find in here. The Gods Grown Old. The subtitle of Thespis, which was the first one they put on, and they borrowed odd little songs from it to put in their more polished pieces as the years went by. The score of Thespis, if you ask somebody, will say it's all lost. Well, it's all lost because, quite frankly, it wasn't worth retaining. He looks a guy, a nice chap, doesn't he, really? And that is W.S. Gilbert. The way to remember it is that Sullivan did the songs. And here are various soloists and relations and the all-important patrons. And they ran it like a business, and they were sticklers for copyright. In fact, the copyright itself owes not a little to the fact that they would go to America and perform it, and somebody would be sort of writing it all down. Terribly tedious. Nevertheless, I have nothing to play you, but I can assure you, if you go to YouTube or any of these and type in Gilbert and Sullivan, you'll get some wonderful reactions. Here's where Gilbert lived in 1890, and this was to be his last resting place. As you can see, it's massive, isn't it? And you have Iolanthe, where the house appears off to a load of fairies. And the fairies, Iolanthe is brought out of hibernation. Not hibernation, she's been banished, exiled. And there is Arthur Sullivan. So that will give you a little insight into the world of the Savoy. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James Pratt. Goodbye.